ஆமாம் மேடம் வந்தேன். இப்போ யூடியூப் லைவ் கொடுத்தேன். பாப்பா பார்த்துட்ருக்கு. Dr. Premalata, ma'am, good evening.
Madam, good evening, madam.
Good evening. Dr. Anjani, ma'am, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening, madam. Good evening. Good evening.
Dr. Josephine, ma'am, good evening. நம்ம ஸ்பாட்லைட் கூட அதில் கிடைக்க மாட்டேங்குது.
Good evening, ma'am. Shiva Shakti, ma'am. Premalata,
Madam,
ma'am.
good evening, ma'am.
Ranjini, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
ஏற்கனவே அம்மா வந்து சொல்லி வச்சிருக்கேன். மெசேஜ் போட்டா ஃபோன் போகும்.
இந்த மாதிரி மெசேஜ் அடிக்கடி போகுது. வியூவர்ஸ் வந்து ட்ராக் பண்ணுறேன். லைக் போட சொல்லு.
பேசாதீங்க. கேட்குது.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Okay.
Dr. Abhidipti, please stop presenting the screen.
Dr. Deepthi, please stop your presenting. Dr. Deepthi, Dr. Deepthi, ma'am.
Ma'am, it is 4:30.
அது டாக்டர் மணி சார் இருக்காங்க, அவங்ககிட்ட செக் பண்ணுங்க.
Ani sir.
4:30 வந்துடுறேன்னு சொன்னாங்க ப்ரொஃபஸர் மணி
Oh,
சார். இல்லை மேடம். அது ஜோஸ்மின், ஓகே நம்ம ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுவோம். சார்கிட்ட நான் கேட்டுட்டு அவங்க அது கொடுத்து.
okay. Okay. Unmute. Start பண்ணுவோமா?
அஞ்சலி மேம்,
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடவா மேம்?
டாக்டர் அஞ்சலி மேம்,
Yes,
பிரேமலதா மேம் ப்ளீஸ் வெயிட் பண்ணுங்க. ஜோஸ்மின் மேம் ப்ளீஸ்.
Ah,
பிரேமலதா மேம், ஆர் யூ ரெடி?
Yes, ma'am.
ஓகே, ஜோஸ்மின் மேம் ப்ளீஸ் ஸ்டார்ட். டாக்டர் ஜோஸ்மின் மேம்.
yes, ma'am. Yes,
எஸ்
ma'am.
மேம், எஸ் மேம்.
Believe in yourself and find a way forward, no matter what the challenge is. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Department of Education Psychology, Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and IQSC Stella Matutina College of Education, it's our pleasure to invite you all for the one-week international webinar on Teaching Redefined for Gen Z. Today's session 7, role of teachers during COVID-19, the unprecedented transition. Dear participants, I hope you all will find this session very useful. Thank you for your constant support and cooperation. Once again, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all the participants. To begin today's session, we are very happy to have with us Dr. Ranjani Devi, Assistant Professor, NSS Training College, Pandalam, Kerala, who is going to share her deliberations on role of teachers during COVID-19, the unprecedented transition. We thank you, ma'am, for joining us today. We are delighted to welcome you, ma'am. Now, I would like to request Dr. T. Premalata, ma'am, Assistant Professor of Education, Bharatiya University, Coimbatore, to welcome our resource person. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Josephine, madam. It is a brand new day. Today is certainly going to be a beautiful and better day. May God Almighty bless you all with a day full of happiness and joy. A warm good evening to all who gathered here. Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor N. Pantaradam, respected Registrar Professor V. Balakrishnan, respected Dean of Faculty Professor M. Govindan, respected Professor S. Mani, co-patron Reverend Sister Pauline Mary, convener Dr. Mrs. Joseph Catherine, Mr. Austin, founder of Tamil America Channel, organizing secretaries Dr. T. Shivashakti Rajamal and Dr. S. Aroke Elizabeth Josephine, today's resource person Dr. S. Ranjani Devi, learned dignitaries and dear participants. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to 1 week international webinar on Teaching Redefined for Gen Z, organized by Department of Educational Psychology, Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Stella Matutina College of Education, Chennai. I feel fortunate enough to introduce today's resource person, the eminent educationist, dynamic, and active personality, Dr. S. Ranjani Devi, Assistant Professor, NSS Training College, Pandalam. Madam is a meritorious and rank holder in MSc Chemistry and in MD Science Education. She is a full-time research scholar and a UGC Research Fellowship during her PhD. She is an active research guide under University of Kerala and consultant for MD. Presently, she is the IQAC coordinator of NSS Training College, Pandalam. She has been acted as a resource person for state and national level seminars, workshops, and webinars. She has coordinated state, national, and international level webinars, chaired the sessions, and acted as a moderator and panelist in national seminars. She is a subject expert in interview boards in schools and colleges. She has published many articles in national and international journals, chapters in edited books. To her credit, she has published a book on human rights education for prospective teachers. I wholeheartedly welcome such a resourceful person for this 1 week international webinar to share her views on role of teachers during COVID-19. Welcome, madam.
Thank you, Pamela ma'am, for your nice words. Am I clearly audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Because there is rain here, so I anticipate some network problems. So if there is any problem with my audio presentation, please let me know that.
okay.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude to the organizing team for inviting me, especially my special thanks for my very dear friend, Dr. Shivashakti Rajamal, for inviting me. And I would like to appreciate the organizing team for organizing such a wonderful webinar. And the topic can be known, or we can say that the topic is actually the need of the hour, because we are all struggling to find a way through these online phases of our teaching. So I would like to start my presentation. Let me present. Is it visible, ma'am?
No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Visible. Yes, yes.
It's
Visible, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay, ma'am? Is it slideshow?
Okay, okay.
Okay. So, I'm not intending to do a lecture or giving some valuable points or suggestions how to deal with your students, how to deal with your struggles. Actually, what my intention is to share some of my concerns. Maybe they are mutual concerns as teachers. So let's share our mutual concern. So before starting the presentation, I would like to ask a question to all the participants. What were your thoughts and feelings when you, the great teachers, were asked to stop your class in the middle of a course to switch from the very familiar face-to-face teaching to the alien screen-to-screen teaching? Can you write something in your chat box? What were your feeling? It's like we are watching a movie and going back like a flashback. Please go back to June 2020. What were your feelings at that time? Yes, blindfolded, excited, resistance, dilemma, don't know what to do, challenging. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your responses. So all these responses clearly shows what were actually our feelings, our thoughts, what were our emotions at that time, the time of June 2020, where actually there was a sudden shift happened. But most of these feelings belong to a negative category. I think so. Most of them dilemma, frustration, anxiety, disappointments. So just think about why these frustrations happened. Because we are all teachers having so much experience, so much subject expertise in our field. Still, we feel all these things. Maybe because of a particular reason. Because as we were teaching in our traditional classroom, we were always confident. We are always confident because the way we are teaching is very much familiar to us, because it is the same way we were taught when we are students. And we have been teaching in that particular pattern for years. So there was no scope for confusion. We were very well aware of all those things. But when we are asked suddenly to shift from the traditional form of teaching to an online setup, we have no prior experience. We had no experience at that time. I think except for using our WhatsApp or email or sometime our PPT, we don't have much experience in using online platforms. So then what happened? The teachers had to think about even the very small basic steps, because they don't know whether it will work in an online platform or not. So the content is not the matter there, because we are always the subject experts as far as a teacher is concerned. Nobody has ever questioned a teacher about his content expertise. So in a traditional classroom, there is no question of confusion. They know how to present. But when we have changed, the twist happened in the educational system, even the minute things became a problem, became a confusion to teachers. Whether it is okay. If I present this in the form of a PPT, whether it is okay, whether the design will be okay, whether the transaction will be okay, numerous questions, numerous barriers in our mind. So that was the condition at that time. So this COVID pandemic brings, actually it has a, I don't know whether it is a revolution or an evolution happened in our educational system. Because that time period was very short for us teachers to adapt. Within a span of 3 or 4 months, the lockdown happened. Whole educational system shifted. The classroom teaching, traditional classroom, that means a room within our class within the 4 walls. So all those things changed. The very experienced teachers who were very well experienced, prepared, sincere, dedicated teachers, but they were not ready to face that particular shift or that twist at that time. So the changes were unprecedented, extraordinary or unique, unparalleled changes happened. So what our teachers need at that time, the main change or the main transition that they have to adapt to teaching online, how we are going to adapt to the situation while we are changing our teaching process to online. So during this time of online teaching, what I feel or what I felt at that time was that it is like we are standing in front of a door that is locked. There's a lock there. We are offered with loads of keys, a bunch of keys, but we don't know which key is to be used to open that lock. So that hesitation and confusion was always there at the time of the starting point of online teaching. So we all knew that there were a lot of memes and trolls and all those things were just spreading. This became viral. Most of them were somewhat humiliating for teachers, but there were some memes which were actually not for humiliating out the teachers, but for fun. But when we analyze these things, we can understand some deeper meaning. So I would like to share the most viral meme of that time. It's still viral, I feel so. So this particular meme is very famous, maybe because of the presence of Tom. But we can say that two captions, just read out those two captions. What happens in 2009? It's not in 2019, it is up to 2019 March. Then after that, what happened? And this is not an exaggerated version. I myself is familiar with a principal who just threatened her students that she's going to capture all those mobile phones if they use inside the campus and will only return after the end of the course. And many of us had this experience. We'll be threatening our student if it is making some sound unknowingly in our classroom. So we were somewise terrorizing our students for using mobile phones at that time. But the sudden shift happened 2020. I'm not criticizing the teachers for banning mobile phones, but the point is that the system changed, the situation changed. Now, mobile phone became the schools or classroom for students. That's the present situation. So now I'm going to share my concerns or my viewpoints with all of the audience. And I hope that most of them are belonging to teaching community, like teachers, teacher educators, or student teachers. I hope so. So what are the domains where these changes or the transitions happened? So actually, it's something like going to a war. I felt like that. I don't know what about the thoughts of other people, other teachers, but I felt like I'm going to a war and I'm offered with the most sophisticated weapons, like what can we say? We have seen those most sophisticated weapons in a James Bond movie or some Hollywood action thriller movie, but I only knew to use my sword. So that was something like that, or that was a similar feeling that I felt at that time. So different types of changes happened, or it can be said that something, we have been traveling in a time machine. Something that we expected to happen in 2050 or 60 is happening in 2020. That was an utter chaos or confusion at that time. So the first change happened, a positive change happened in the attitude of our student teachers, because there was definitely stress. In spite of those stress means stress of pandemic, the stress of being confined. We are social beings. We are not practiced or used to be always inside the four walls. We want to communicate. We want to interact with our fellows. So that confinement also gives stress. And there's a possibility that the workload was increased, the added amount of workload that we will discuss later. So in spite of all these stress, teachers became more creative and more innovative, because the difference from traditional classroom teaching was that online teaching is changing. There's a change is there. Because today we are using Google Classroom, maybe. Tomorrow we were using Zoom or WebEx. Or other day we were using LMS like Moodle or Genomio. So there is a possibility of change. So teachers become more innovative because they knew they are under stress. They are struggling, but still the most special characteristic feature what I felt about our teachers, especially our school teachers, is that they have the will to overcome their struggles to be the beautiful teacher whom they want to become. So the first transition happened in their attitude. So in order to prove my point, I would like to show two pictures. It is very viral in YouTube. You can see these are the pictures of two teachers in schools in Kerala state. And I don't know whether you are using this in your classroom, but whether you are using or not, you might be familiar with this technique. Can you say in your chat box what's that used here?
Arlopa.
Augmentation.
Yes, augmentation, augmented reality. Thank you. It's augmented reality. Definitely the correct answer. So, do you think these teachers were expecting to use augmented reality in their classrooms before 2020 June? Never. No teacher, we never expected a teacher to use these things in our classrooms. So that happened. Why? Because of the resilience of our teachers, because of their emotional strength to cope with the struggles and challenges that they face. So they are using this. That is the change happened to their attitude. And sometimes we call this as pedagogical adaptations because whatever be the channel used, that doesn't matter here. Whatever be the things they use, what they need is to adapt to their practices, being more creative. Because this digital classrooms or online classrooms has offered a large number of resources. If we type on Google G Web2 tools, the number of tools available is something beyond our imagination. So the extensive use of these things are possible. But what we need as teachers is to adapt ourselves. It may not be easy for a teacher, but they won't fail. That I'm sure about it. So they will be using these digital tools, digital resources, and they will be implementing all these things in their classrooms. So that was the first transition, what I felt as a teacher. And the second transition was happening here. The relationship among colleagues, among our friends, among our teaching faculty. I'm not saying that before this COVID pandemic, there was no proper relationship with our colleagues. What I am intending to say is that for a physics teacher, it's natural for a human being that think that I'm an PG, I have PhD in this. So for subject transaction, content transaction, I don't need to consult with another person. I know what to do. So that's not something a negative comment, but it is something there in our human personality that we know things. So I'm doing like what I understand, what I'm competent. So the thing changed here is not in area of subject or concern, the content matter. But when I'm using Google Meet for the first time, I don't know. There are certain difficulties I experience. I don't know how to. There may be someone in among our colleagues who may be techno savvy or who may be more aware of these things. So I'll be consulting. So when I'm consulting with that particular person, the third party may be interested. So in order to work the online mode of teaching, the interaction among colleagues changed, interaction among teachers changed. They started to work in groups for solving these problems and issues. So the collaboration and also the online platforms offer these collaboration to another level. I can collaborate with, if I'm a chemistry teacher, I can collaborate with a teacher from anywhere around this world. So it is something like thinking outside the box, what they are doing. I can also do it. I can also, if I'm not confident, I can also try it, whether it works or not. So the relationship pattern changed. I would like to.
అట్లా అనరాట ఎవరైతే
Someone's
అయ్యో
mic is on. Okay. This is another famous viral meme that I'm very much interested. Don't think or take it as your heart as something negative. Just understand that fun element and the meaning hidden in that meme. The teachers in a normal class and teachers in an online class. So in a traditional classroom, the teachers were lacking, teachers were persons having that 6-pack, 12-pack personality, We were always very strict, very rigid, always the most precious, most used statements of teachers may be, okay, especially in school classes, I think, don't make noise, no, be silent, all those things. The power lies in the teacher. But what happened to online classes? I'm not saying that teacher does not have any power, but sometimes I feel that I'm begging, like somebody has to answer, is there anyone there on the opposite side? Nobody is responding. So please say something. So what happened? The control changed to some extent because students are now in a position to take control of the organizing class. Oh, sorry, the online classroom. So the teachers have to take back that reign, take back that control. The only thing the teacher can do is to equip themselves. Whatever platform or the whatever channel they are using, they have to be well versed in that. Whatever happening, I know how to deal with. Then only online classroom can be controlled because we are very proudly saying, arguing that now we are dealing students, so it's a child-centered classroom, it's an activity-centered classroom. There's nothing like teacher-dominated classrooms. But whatever things, whatever philosophy, whatever theory we use in our classrooms, but ultimately the control is always in our teachers. So that control has been shifted. The transition happened in that day. What do you think about this picture? This is the real digital classroom. There are no uniforms, no school bags, no discipline, no rules, no behavior patterns. Why? Because the teacher has no physical control. Because in the actual traditional classroom, teacher was very confident to ensure discipline. I can ensure discipline. There are rules. I am sure that I can ensure they are enforced. And there's a safe learning environment where the teachers, where the students can perform very well. There was a physical control. But what happened? During online classes, teachers cannot exercise this physical control anymore. So what to do? It's another big question, a very big question mark. Another change happened. No, I feel that we teachers and students are like this now, sitting inside a box in isolation. Do you think so? As teachers, we are sitting inside a box. There is no connectivity. I'm not talking about network connectivity, the emotional connectivity. As teachers, we always need and want to stay connected, connected physically, connected emotionally with our students. But whatever things are happening nowadays, in our online classroom, students always feel detached or disconnected from their teacher as well as from their peers. There is no contact, full isolation, like we are sitting inside a box. So, who is struggling? I agree that students are struggling, but who is struggling more? Our teachers are struggling because they don't know whether these students are comprehending these things or not, whether they are actually participating or just they are sitting like some statue on opposite side. So what's actually happening in the teaching learning process? The teacher is struggling because they don't know how to connect with students. I'm not saying that this is still existing. I'm talking about those changes that happen to our teachers. This has been changed because of the progress of time, because of that 1 year. But these were always happened to our teachers. I'm talking about those things which happened, which changed that our teachers. Then many times I have felt to sit like that, not using my laptop, but using something like a paper or book, because it is a great challenge to keep track of our students' progress. Because in an online learning environment, we don't know how to check the progress of students. Here, the problem is not about assessment. When it comes to assessment, there's lots of web tools available, digital tools available for making assessment, like the very famous Google Forms or Kahoot. All those things are available, web tools are available. But I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about the formative process. While teaching, I want to know how my student is progressing. In a normal classroom, this we are going back to that flashback. When I am teaching in my classroom, just observing my students' facial expression, just observing those body languages of students, just observing their eyes. I know whether they are comprehending or not, whether they are coming with me or not, whether they are lagging behind. There is no such provision, so this also changed and provided a challenge before our great teachers. I like this picture very much because in each and every day, I'm sure, if I'm taking an online class, this round portion will be there. Suppose I'm taking online class to students, some 40 to 50 students, definitely there will be the red part. Students, teacher, I'm not able to connect. Teacher, my network is very low. Teacher, my data has already been consumed. Teacher, due to rain and thunder, the Wi-Fi is not okay. So lots of, I'm not saying that these are excuses, but there are possibilities that there are genuine reasons, there may be excuses. But still, the red portion is there, the connectivity problem during that lockdown period, during our online teaching. And I don't know whether some participants are from West Bengal. Is there anyone from West Bengal?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, there are persons. Okay, thank you for responding. Because I want to introduce a particular person. If you are from West Bengal, you should be proud for having such a teacher. This is in the village of the Bangura district of West Bengal.
Yes.
This is not the actual photo. His name is Subradapati. I don't know correct pronunciation because it is Bengali. If it is wrong, please excuse me. So this teacher will be climbing every day. Why? Because there is no connectivity when he is in his home. He is so much dedicated to his students that the only thing that he had in his mind was to teach them whatever may be the struggle he is facing. So daily he is climbing a tree there and he is teaching there. So that situation is there. It's not a hypothetical one. It's actually happened. I'm not saying that it is in West Bengal. There are many states in which we can find this type of teacher, because this was an article found in Hindu and Times of India. That why I selected this particular person. The most the complicated issue of online teaching for our teachers and as well as students. Because for a smooth practice of digital classrooms and online classrooms, what we need is high internet connectivity. We call Wi-Fi or broadband, whatever, hotspot, whatever it is. Connections are required. Uninterrupted flow networking. This has become a worsened situation when we consider rural areas or remote areas.
Srividya madam, kindly mute.
I think this is another problem, right? Okay, leave it. So there are people who can't afford. So the most something we call, what we can say, the controversial issues, or the most talked about, debatable issue of digital divide happened. Because the pandemic has shown the disparities that exist between the urban and rural districts. or developed communities and societies against underdeveloped communities. The first thing, underdeveloped in the sense of financial aspect, that even the parents, some parents are not even, no, it's not that they're not willing, but they are not in a position to afford that kind of money, that amount of money to bring a mobile phone. And I know some of my students at that time collected amount to bring mobile phone to their students who are now working as teachers. They were my students. Now they are working as teachers. They are in Kerala, in Alappuzha. So they collected money and brought phone ranging from 10,000 to 15,000 because they want their students to learn. They don't want them to miss these learning. So these things actually, it's actually a glaring problem because the teacher is the person who will ultimately struggle. Because if I'm willing, if I'm very much dedicated and sincere that my students should learn from me, whatever things have to do, I will do. So that become another struggle, transition for our dear teachers. Then the biggest problem, something which is very difficult to overcome, attendance. That picture is very familiar because I think those persons who are using Google Meet as platform may be using this Chrome extension, Google Meet attendance. Whenever the students log in, automatically the attendance will be recorded in an Excel sheet. But what happens later? What is the surety is that till that 30 minutes, at end of 30 minutes, maybe they will re-enter. So what happens is that we are not sure that the students are there. We can see that round thing with symbols, with profile pictures, but we are not sure that whether they are physically present in the opposite side. It's another problem for our teachers. Then regarding technical knowledge. So this kind of problem was a major issue at the beginning of our online teaching. Because without sufficient technical knowledge about these things, it's really harassment for our teacher and students. Because we have to do a lot of technical things like how to record a video, how to make a podcast, how to make a PPT, how to use these platforms such as Google Meet, Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Team, all those things. So this was actually a great struggle for our teachers at that time of, June, July 2020 maybe. After 2 or 3 months, who are we? We are teachers. We know how to win each and every situation with our resilience. So, but it happened. That's why I'm sharing my view. It's happened among our teachers. Then the preparation time. So do you agree with me if I ask, preparation for an online classroom is more tiresome than an offline classroom? What do you think? Yes or no? Yes. Yes, yes, there are, yes, yes, yes. There is no there. Thank you. Thank you for responding. So there might be a little misconcept here because in even a whatever the thing we are teaching, that means whether it is an online platform or an offline platform, we are teaching the same content. So why do we need more time? Because we have to transact the content in a new medium, new platform. So just think, if I'm going to teach tomorrow in a traditional classroom, I know I am teaching these things for years. I just read out all those things. Maybe teachers are having some lesson notes and all those things. I will be going and teaching. But if we have to teach that same content in an online platform, sometimes we will be taking PPTs. You know how much time will it take to prepare a PPT? Everyone here, I hope, is aware. because it is not the matter of content. It has to be divided in proper size. Font is to be adjusted, color adjusted, pictures adjusted, design is to be selected. Most things. So again, workload is increasing, time is increasing for the preparation. Then suppose we have to record a lesson. What will happen? Take enough some for 30 minutes class, we may be taking 1 hour, 2 hours for it. I still remember it was actually when I think back, it seems funny to me. My personal experience. It was some 2 or 3 months that time of that means in July or August. So I was recording my class so that I can. There were some network problems at that area, so I was unable to use Google Meet. So I decided to record a class and post online through WhatsApp. So I was recording some 15 minutes, some disturbances. Just I stopped, again started recording. So this happened 3 or 4 times. At the fourth attempt, I finally succeeded. There was only 5 minutes left for my conclusion. You know what happened? There was a dog howling on the street, like some mic is fitted on his mouth. So I didn't dare to record from the beginning. So what I thought, no, I know how to edit those things. I just learned all those things now. So I just started to edit that particular part. You know how much time I took for editing? 1 hour. So that thing I still remember because I know how much time I spent because it was only a 30 minutes class, the traditional classroom. So it is really surprising at that time, but I think everyone knew that it is really taking so much time to prepare for an online classroom. So a very, very beautiful animated picture. It may be a student or it may be a teacher after knowing certain student. You know what kind of students I am referring here? Students without motivation. There's a big crisis like this because we are all teachers or teacher educators or teacher trainees who are present here. And we might have all learned about the significance of motivation in the online teaching. Oh, no, not online, in the teaching process or whatever thing we are doing. What is the significance of motivation? Because only a motivated person can see committed to that particular task or his responsibility. So this kind of, whether it is intrinsic motivation or extrinsic motivation, whatever is there, is very difficult for an online learner, and it's very difficult for our poor teacher to inculcate that motivation in an online learner. I think you agree with me. Maybe you might have understood what I am going to say. Maybe about technophobia. But I'm not restricting this to technophobia. I'm using the term neophobia. It means phobia, fear towards new things. This actually was very severe in case of our elders. Please don't misunderstand that all elders were very much illiterate regarding technological things. No, it's not like that. But compared to our next generation or new generation of teachers, elders suffered more in handling technology. So that kind of neophobia was there in each and every teacher. Even if they are new generation, they did that. But this was most struggling and affecting our elders, our senior, that means last decade teachers. Teachers, I think, belong to age category of 50 to 55 age because they were never used maybe in their lifetime these technological devices. So for them, but still, what I am proud of them is that still they succeeded in that. They succeeded in overcoming all those things and they became proficient in those things. Another thing about peeping parents. I like the term peeping because it is actually like I felt like this. Sometimes it's not about higher education institution. It happens most often. It happens in primary sections. I'm not talking that about those parents who are very much supportive and very much assistive to their children. I'm talking about those parents who make unnecessary comments in the classroom. They'll be sitting with their children. They may be criticizing these teachers. They may be asking unnecessary questions. Definitely, the feeling of being monitored. The teacher is expecting, like, no, oh, now that parent will be criticizing, that parent will make a negative comment. So it's kind of being the feeling like, no, what is we are maybe making our teachers nervous, insecure. So that was another biggest problem faced by teacher, especially in teachers teaching primary school students. I don't know whether higher education institutions in plus one, plus two, or college level the parents will be assisting, but it is most often found in primary sections. Then comes to work-life balance. What happened to our teachers? In a normal classroom teaching learning situation, there will be 10 to 4 or 9:30, 3:30 time, or in college it will be 9:30, 4:30. After that, they can go back to their own personal affairs, to their home, to their spouses, to their children, to their siblings, parents, everything okay. But the so-called comfort of home, why I use the so-called comfort? Because people outside feel that, oh, they are teaching in their home. So how comfort is the solve? But actually, managing the household host along with online teaching required a higher level of stamina from the part of our teachers, because maybe the online classing sometimes it's 6:30 in the morning, sometimes 7:30 in the evening. How are they going to manage all those things? But still they manage. That's another thing. Now, there's another picture. You can see this video and pictures in YouTube. I'm not using this video to teach you about chemistry equation. Just look at that situation there. She don't have the tripod stand to fix their mobile phone. She don't have any camera. But still, inside her home, she used that hanger, something which she used to hang her clothes, using that old clothes. No? She's making effort, struggle to teach. Why? Because she's very much determined that my students should not suffer without learning. But actually, the question is not that. Whether these efforts are properly acknowledged by our society, by people belong to other domains of work. What about public scrutiny? As I mentioned earlier, there were lots of memes and trolls using bits from our movies and all those things. For more than 50%, if you analyze, is really humiliating to teachers. Why don't the public understand the position of our teacher? Why don't they understand the emotional stress, the psychological stress faced by our teachers? This always makes the teacher insecure, less confident. The shift was very drastic for them. And in addition to that, I would like to ask another question. What about the other jobs done by our teachers? They are working in railway stations, in bus stands, hospitals, in civil supply stores, wherever they are needed there. Then still, what are they getting in reply, in comment? Oh, they don't have anything to do. They are not going to schools. They don't have to transport from one place to another. They are sitting inside their home, getting salary. Why don't they understand? Our teachers, as teachers, we expect the public to understand our strain, our stress, what we feel actually. Don't you think I'm saying these things from the right point of view? So all these things happen to our teachers. So we don't know the key. Now, I'm going to present a bunch of keys to, and which key is to be used to which lock, it is up to you. Because if you are using keys in your house, you know, we are using one key to open our front door. That key cannot be used to open your bedroom. So, depending upon the situation, depending upon the teacher, the student, the context, the subject, the age level, there are lots of things. You as teacher have to find which is the suitable. So the most important thing that I believe is key is feedback use. Now, I know the reflex response in your mind. Oh, what is new about it? We are always giving feedback. I'm giving assignment. I will definitely correct it. Are you about 10 out of 15 or 20 out of 25? I'm giving feedback to them. Sometimes I will write good. I'm not asking you to restrain yourself to that particular thing because it is actually a very important connection that you can make with your student. You can give feedback. So what I'm saying is just one example or suggestion. Be creative. So when I'm giving an assignment, so total marks will be 25. So I'll be just when they are sending back through Google Classrooms or using any other learning management system or using WhatsApp or email, anything. I receive it, I value it and say, okay, you got 20 out of 25, right? We can change this. We can say this is 20 out of 20. Why I didn't give you 25? Is it possible for that student to enhance or increase her or his level to 25? How can he or she can be improved? A student who is getting 15 out of 25, why don't I use some suggestions, tips that you have to use this, or it is better you can improve yourself? So what I'm intending to say is that just enhance that level of feedback to our students because it's an online classroom. We don't know what they are actually feeling. We cannot observe their body language. So just make it more creative. Another thing is interaction among students. So in an online classroom, the interaction among students is very less because we cannot connect with them. Like they are, if one person is sitting in one village or one district, one city, another person in maybe another state. So there is no interaction among students. As teachers, we should understand that the interaction with our peers is very much motivating for our students. So how can we make them more interact? Maybe there are teachers here who might be using different creative techniques for group interaction. Those who are not using, please be ready to use them because we are going for the war for the second time from this job. But what is the difference? Now we know how to use those sophisticated weapons. We are not in that old person knowing only to use how to use the sword. So now we know. So now we can concentrate more on our students how to overcome all those challenges that we felt in our first attempt. How? Because there is nothing to generalize here. I can give these tips. Do just knock down tips 1 to 10 and use all of these things. And you can be a very successful teacher in an online platform. There is nothing like that. The person who can do all these things is only the teacher because he's the only person who is aware of their students. I can give an example. We can give a group work. Group work, I'm giving a group work. 10 parts is to be answered. I will say first part is to be answered by Arjun. Second part is answered by Abhimanyu. Third part is answered by Seema. And what will happen? There won't be any interaction. So select works where there's a possibility or opportunity to interaction among the people. It may be through WhatsApp, making a phone call, or just using Google Meet if they can afford. So we use different methods. Then we can give titles, creative titles we can use, maybe project leader. Today you are the project, next week the person will be project. You have to coordinate all your peers. So make it more creative, use your imagination. Another biggest challenge, assessment. Of course, why this challenge? There is no shortage of tools. But in a virtual classroom, the chance of copying. Maybe yesterday the resource person have talked about ethical side of this online classroom. So it's another problem of ethics here. They can copy from their textbooks. They can collect information from asking Google G. It's easy. Google G, what's the answer? So those unethical practices are there. So who need to change? Do we expect our students to be 100% ethical in these situations? No. They are very small children, or even if they are in college going or +1, +2 student, it's there in the students' personality. We cannot blame them. There may be students who are not doing all these things, but there may be. It's a possibility is there. So we have to change the assessment pattern. Instead of asking MCQ, multiple choice question, one word question. One word question very easy. If they type like this, the answer will come. Just focus on assessment process where an individual learner can express. He will only be getting scores if the answer is from his own creative thoughts, her own creative thoughts or critical thinking. Here we can give project works, or even we can use oral assessment. What's your opinion about this? What will be the consequences, or what do you feel what will happen in future based on particular theme, particular subject matter? You cannot say what kind of question you have to ask, what kind of tactics you have to use to make them express their own thoughts, not something copied from Google or something copied from a textbook. So that you have to decide. I will never be able to say that these are things are to be used. No, never. It has to be understood, used by you only. Because whoever persons are sitting on the opposite side of you, the person sitting or the pupil sitting opposite you, maybe not having the same characters like the group of persons standing opposite to me in my classroom. So we can never generalize these things. Next, about our slow learners. Slow learners, I'm concentrating on those children for whom it is difficult to understand what the teacher is saying in a single attempt. In our classroom, traditional school setting, we do have sessions, remedial teaching, and all those things. In an online classroom, we can do a lot of things, as I already mentioned, subdue. But the most simple things we can do, recorded classes. Now, again, the response in your mind, I can assume. We have to prepare for online class. We have to take all those things through Google Meet and WebEx and all those platforms. Now I have to record also. It's too time consuming, too tiresome. But no, we can change to that according to the situation. For example, if you do not have the camera facility, if you do not have that tripod stand and all those things, no problem. Just use your WhatsApp voice message, that option. Just open it. You can. The audio can be recorded. If the students need your explanation for a second time, you can use that. But just create a WhatsApp group. That's why I use that term live box. A WhatsApp group where the students can ask you only for asking questions, doubts, and clarifications. So I'm not arguing that each and every teacher should form a WhatsApp. No, nothing like that. It's only my suggestion. If it is suitable for your students, you can use it. Otherwise, you can think about other things. Now, the most important thing in an online classroom, that is the way of communicating things. Because whatever may be the relation, it's a very famous saying, like whatever be the relation, anything, friendship, love, family, anything, the most important thing is the communication. Where there's a lack of communication, failure is definitely there. So we are going to talk about this communication thing. First thing, psychologists have proved that multisensory approach is the best, and we are using this for years in the form of audio visual aids. The same thing applies here in our online classroom. never is one way. If you are using text, don't use all textual matter only for one day. Mix up with the videos and different types of communication. So different senses can be used. Then I like this picture very much. I know you might have understood why I use this picture. This is our student starting in front of his laptop. And this is our teacher. He's also using his laptop, right? But what the student feels here, he's feeling that in front of him is not the laptop, but his teacher, the personal touch. That is we call personal communication. Because teachers should never forget that something is turned upside down during lockdown and during this pandemic. That is only the teaching process. But the connection between the teacher and student is still there. So it has to be there. Because it's our responsibility to create instances of open conversations. Because a genuine relationship is to be maintained with our student. Then only the laptop will appear like a real human phone. I'm not saying the laptop, the teacher sitting behind the laptop, he or she will feel that the teacher is in front of me. The teacher can understand my feelings and emotions, how I am progressing. That's the ability or significance of personal communication. You have to set a space so that all the students can feel that togetherness among themselves and with the teacher. These are some tips or suggestion, whatever thing. It's not generalizable things. If you can use it, use them. Otherwise, forget it. The most important thing is we should have a will to do this, because the first action, first response always comes to our mind will be like this: time. Where am I going to find time for all this? But just think about all those struggles we faced for the first time. Do we have to face them again? Just answer your question yourself. Just use a 5 or 10 minutes to talk to your students about your feelings, how they are progressing, what do you want to become. It's not mechanical. We can use names. Don't call them in an authoritative way, just in a warm, affectionate way. Because we have to establish the emotional connection with our children. If you are not ready to spend 5 or 10 minutes daily, we can schedule a weekly appointment with our students, half an hour weekly. Monday to Friday, you are having classes. Just spend half an hour with our students on Saturday or Sunday. I know you are having lots of things to do in our home, but still, just spend half an hour with them. And ask them to talk about their home, their life, their activities. We can include the peers to formative assessment. I'm assessing something and I can ask our students to assess. So there's kind of interaction. Then videos can be prepared, welcome videos, thank you videos. I'm not saying that whenever the student enter the classroom, there will be a slide showing welcome. And he or she will be seeing and getting bored after seeing 1,000 times that video. I'm not saying that kind of thing. That video should be creative, where the teacher can grade them, where the teacher can know what are those things we are going to do today. Something like that. Be creative. Then all those things, tone. It's very important, the voice. Because we are always saying that teachers are parent substitutes. They are spending more time with our teachers than their parents. So they should feel that love, care, and affection that we can provide to our tone of voice. Then GIFs and emojis are very famous. Smiling emojis, when we are sending a feedback to them, just use single emoji, but don't overdo it. Don't think that I'm saying to use emojis, use emojis. No, it's used appropriately. Then use emotive language. I think everyone knew about this emotive language. Emotive language being language which shows some kind of feelings and emotions, using words which could express some kind of emotion and which could still some kind of emotion from the person. Okay, some these kind of demotive languages are very much rare in newspaper. Like some person was stabbed. It's a very blunt of a person was stabbed. So there can be represented in a very innocent bystander who was there passerby. He was just stabbed by a person. No, something emotional there. We can use such kind of situations in our classrooms. Suppose two persons are not able to connect, two students. Maybe others become frustrated. So we can say, two students have to join. You have to wait. What will be the reaction of our students? We can make it more spicy, not blunt. Say, your friends, they're living in a rural village, so they have some problem. So it's our responsibility to wait for our friends. So that makes it change the situation. So don't confuse yourself that we always have to use this. Make it appropriately depending upon the situation. Then why do I have to say that students, please share your lives? Why can't I share it? I can share my life, what I'm doing in my. I do have a dog in my home. Its name is Tiku or some. I don't know what the name. Some dogs, some cats are there. We will call us. No, in our state, very famous. There are two cat names, Tangu and something is Miku, because it was used by our primary school teacher, Sai Sheda teacher for first standard students. So it's very famous. So just explain to them what are my hobbies. I would like to read books while I'm free. I do have a dog. I will take him for a walk while I'm free. Be yourself. Don't be a rigid. Don't think that I'm a teacher, so I should be like this. Smiling is very boring. Smiling is not allowed for it. No, just being yourself. Make it unique. Make jokes. Laugh with your students. So all these things can be done. It's very easy. In spite of doing all these things, there is a very crucial problem because classrooms are explicitly designed to support the learning process, but all those things are substituted by our bedrooms, kitchen slabs, dining rooms. I don't know whether students are learning classrooms. Somewhere maybe on the rooftop. So distractions are overflowing. So no surprise they want to quit. So in spite of this personal communication, if you are not succeeding, we can use something else. How to motivate them in a more structured way. That is called the goal set. There is something like that, fixing a particular assignment. You have to complete this assignment, so I'll be giving a certificate or I'll be giving some points. After receiving 1,000 points, I'll issue a certificate. You can make certificate. There are lots of sites available online. Just use your imagination and create. You can create beautiful certificates. And it is like setting a new personal best. Like, no, yeah, we are using in athletics, no, 100-meter race. This year I used for some 14 seconds to cover 100-meter. Next year I'll be using 13 seconds. So I have to overcome my own record, something like that. So then using rewards and prizes is also there. Some of you might not be agreeing with me because it seems very childish. It can be used only in primary classrooms. No, because just understand there's a child in each and every person. But you have to use all these things genuinely. And online platforms or digital tools offer a high number of enormous opportunities to create these kinds of things like stars, trophies, using GF emojis, images, even videos can be created. Like the first person who complete assignment, so I'll be giving these stars. And I think even in that new versions of laptop, there was possibility of using all these three-dimensional things. So use it. Explore yourself, like our children's friend Dora. Just explore. Now make it more flexible. If your students are saying that teacher 10 to 10:30, here it is rain, we are not able to attend the class. So if you are free, make the class after 2:30. It is not for a single student. For the majority, if they are asking for it, flexibility, give the flexibility. And all those things are examples, creating different colorful badges and all those things. And the last one is very significant. Emailing parents. No, whenever I open just my email, okay, I'm receiving a letter from the teacher and a certificate. Your son got this and this mark of schools, and he's very got first place. All those things. A certificate, no? A token of appreciation. Just imagine as parents, how do you feel it? Then the last crucial thing that we discussed earlier, that's the peeping parents things. Why do you think parents are peeping? Because they don't know anything about what's happening. So just communicate. Now, here also there's a possibility of a negative response. Oh, now I have to dive out. Now I have to find more time to even transact with my parents. If you are wishing to have a peaceful teaching, learning endeavor in online platforms, please do it. Just make them. It's not that you have to daily send emails to your parents, those parents. Just make them understand the work of the child. What are their requirements? What are the duties? Do they need an assistance? If the child is not attending, you can communicate. That will lessen that amount of peeping. So the sudden shift to e-learning has been very much stressful. I agree, totally agree. It was stressful for both teachers and students. No doubt. It will be completely transforming our learning system. But making some changes and making great adaptive abilities to our technological innovations, our teachers can really assemble in this virtual classroom management, because the resilience of teachers is far greater than compared to other members of the society. So I expect a very stress-free teaching learning for all the teachers in this world this second time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, if you have any questions, please you ask your yes. Can raise your questions,
Excuse
ma'am.
me, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Yes,
Hello?
please.
Hello?
You can type questions in the chat box also. Yes.
Hello?
Can
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
I have already posted one question, but the same thing I would like to repeat again. Is it how to measure online learning, madam? Is it possible to evaluate or measure online learning, especially in technical areas?
I think the audio is not clear to me. I would like
Josephine.
to read it in the chat box.
Josephine.
Already posted.
Mani sir phone எடுக்கவே
Okay.
My name is Gopal.
Okay. This audio is not clear to me. Josephine, ma'am, can you repeat the question? It's not clear.
yes, ma'am. Sir, can you repeat the question?
Is it possible to measure all learning activity, especially in technical areas? Measurement of
Really,
learning.
measurement of
measurement of online learning in technical
Measurement
areas.
of
Is it possible?
online emotional measurement. He's asking measurement of online loving like that is
Learning,
uh,
learning, learning.
Online learning, measuring how can we measure online learning? That's what sir means.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. How to measure
How
the
to measure online learning?
In
yeah?
technical
Is it
areas. In technical areas.
Technical areas,
For
actually
example,
the technical.
engineering areas also, nowadays it is going on online only. The time span is very limited. During the 1 hour time span or 40 minutes time span, the faculty used to teach in online process. So the result is not as per expectation. So is it possible to measure in technical areas?
Is it possible to measure technical areas through online teaching?
The online learning process, what teachers have been taught through online learning mode, to what extent the students are able to learn how to measure. Is it possible to measure in technical areas?
Technical areas.
Yeah. For example, nowadays, engineering
Okay.
discipline also.
Now I got the question, sir. Uh, it has been somewhat 1 year after we have completely transformed ourselves to online platforms. But technical area, it's very difficult. But there are large number of courses available in the use of Web2 tools. How we can use different types of tools for different purposes. There are lots of courses like support by Coursera and all those things. There are different courses are there. So if we are going to more to the technical side, you have to learn more. When the technical or like a lab aspect or something like that, it means actually the assessment becomes more difficult for us because we do have to know how we are going to assess this after online teaching. So there is no offline platform to assess. So we have to learn more how we are going to assess. So we do have to learn more about that use of different categories of Web2 tools, which tool is suitable for which situation, which context. So the only thing left for our teachers is if we have to assess with all these things, we have to be more techno savvy. We have to learn more. It's very easy to enroll yourself in different courses. Especially there are lots of courses teaching about Web2 tools. How these different tools are used for different types of students, different contexts, and different aspects. Hope I'm clear.
Good evening, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Good evening.
Ma'am, I would like to get a correction regarding that. Whether in normal classrooms we say that we have to give individual attentions to all the students, particularly the lower class, that is high school students. It is very important that individual attention is needed. But in online class, is it possible to give that individual attention, ma'am?
That's why I already mentioned, ma'am, if we have the will, we can connect with each and every student in our classroom. Individual attention, in the sense you are mentioning, like in an offline classroom, may not be possible. But we can spend some amount of time because we have time with us. So we as teachers have to know each and every student. That's why I mentioned in my last slide, just try to understand them, just be emotionally connected with them. When the student feel that my teacher know who I am, my teacher know my
Srija
feelings,
sister,
my
where are you?
emotions, she or he can understand me. That's the best thing that a teacher can do.
Srija sister.
In that way, individual contact, individual attention can be given. But the problem is the teacher has to do more things than that we do now.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. And your presentation was excellent, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
any other questions? What is web tools? We are asking what is web tools?
The two tools are digital, they are some kind of softwares, digital tools that can be used for different purposes. for online teaching. There's no problem. Just type Web 2 tools, Web 2 2.0 tools on your Google search platform. You will be searching different things in your Google. Just set Web 2.0 tools. You will be getting a lot of information about different tools. Tools how we can use for group works, tools for individual things, group of projects, different types. And these tools can be categorized for different types of students, like primary school students, higher secondary students. Even we have a tendency to write diaries like that for students, like journal writing. All those things can be done using tools. So all those tools are generally known as Web2 tools.
Ma'am.
Yes,
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Can we expect the anticipated outcomes after our teaching in online classrooms?
Can we? Can you repeat the question, ma'am?
Can we expect the outcomes after our online classrooms?
The anticipated outcome has attained or not?
Yeah.
That we have to assess, ma'am. Assessment is the only way to know whether our outcome has been attained or not. But the thing is, if we are using what kind of assessment that we are planning, we can use formative assessment. That's been at the end of each and every day we can assess their performance. And at the end of a course, we can assess. So different types of assessment are possible, but still the question is there. The risk is there. If we are giving a Google form to answer certain type of question, just choose wisely. What do we expect? That means connect our outcome with thematic questions. Connect the outcome with those responses which are only delivered from their own mind, not from somewhere else. So that is the duty of the teacher to connect how my subject area can be connected in such a way. If I am teaching a topic, if you are a science teacher or a language teacher and you are teaching a topic, we have to select our assessment techniques, or we have to choose it very simply. We have to choose the questions that can help us to assess the outcome, but not in a ordinary way of using like MCQ or short answer questions. So it is a responsibility of the teacher to select what type of questions I'm going to use.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, do suggest some activities for math also. Math. Activities through which we could assess mathematics.
Get for assessment activities.
Yeah, in maths.
How to assess mathematics? Okay. Mathematics. Can you connect maths with our life, daily life? Something to connect with the student's life.
Yes.
They're giving them situations to connect the principles or theorems or whatever the equations you are teaching your students. When you select questions, connect these things with the real life of your student. Connecting with his life situation, his home situation.
Ma'am, in the middle school where they are learning new concepts, how do we go about?
New concepts in math.
Yeah, because in the middle school, that's where all the concepts are introduced, apart from the 4 arithmetic operations, which is further linked to the high school content.
Ma'am, whatever concepts we are teaching, whatever things connected with the maths, actually, I would like to ask a question to you, ma'am. Why our students need to learn mathematics? You're a maths teacher, right? Hello? Okay, I think she's not there, but I like to answer. Mathematics is actually more, I don't know, people believe that it's very difficult for students. But the thing can be that the assessment or the content transaction part, always connect them with the life of students. anything, the transactional part, the addition, subtraction in a small class students, connect how these things are happening in their home, how these things are purchased, what's happening there. All these things connect, just make them able to think in their own point of views, from their own experiences.
Madam, the overall result of online learning is, if we have conducted one survey, the result is not expected, madam, as per expectation.
Definitely, definitely. The first time it is not at all up to our satisfaction. I agree. That's why I'm saying all these things.
We are conducting these online classes for engineering people in the last 1 year, 1.5 years. That the overall result is just we are simply managing the show.
Yes, sir. I do agree, sir.
We are simply managing the show to in order to complete the syllabus as per university norms. That's all.
Yes, sir.
There is no actual learning process is taking place. Even if the students are able to score good score, it is their own effort, not because of learning. Their own effort only.
That's why I'm stressing, sir. We are going to go for the same war for the second time. So make it more stress-free for our teachers and students. Do something more creative. That's why I'm saying that for the second time we can change to some extent. It's not a guarantee that by doing all these things we can expect the learning outcomes to be 100% successful or satisfying to our teachers or our syllabus. But we can improve. We can make an initiative to make one step forward. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Thank you, madam.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to extend my sincerest gratitude towards you, ma'am, for your motivational deliberations on role of teachers during COVID. Please accept our appreciation for such a commendable job. You have covered all essential elements of the role of teachers during the COVID-19, the unprecedented transition, and your description of how to execute it is remarkable. That you have talked about motivate with goal setting, completing, achieving a weekly certificate, and motivation with rewards and prize. That are all excellent, ma'am. That your thoughts have enlightened our minds, and our gratitude to you, ma'am, for gracing the session and sharing your opinion today. Will take your words into practice. Once again, I would like to thank you, ma'am, for such a wonderful speech, and hope to get a chance to hear such a speeches from you in future also. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for accepting our request. Shakti, ma'am, can we yes, on to the next session, that is our valedictory session. I request Sister Sija Viola, Assistant Professor of Education, Stella Matna College of Education, to start the valedictory session.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Sister, please, dear participants, please wait. After 5 minutes, we will post feedback form. Please wait. Yes, sister. Please.
Yes, ma'am. The time has come to draw a curtain to our webinar as we come to close of it. On behalf of Department of Educational Psychology, Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Stella Mackina College of Education, a very good evening and a gracious welcome to all of you to this valedictory section of 1 week international webinar on teaching redefined for Gen Z. The fragrance of flowers spread only in the direction of the wind, but the goodness of a person spreads in all directions. I take the pleasure of invite our organizing secretary of this webinar, Dr. T. Shivashakti Rajamal, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, to deliver the welcome address. Welcome,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you, sister. Good evening to you all. First, I express my wholehearted and extend my gratitude to our patron, Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor M. Panjanadam Sir, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, for his constant encouragement and kind words to motivate everybody to engage in academic process and progress, for his great support to complete the 7-day international webinar successfully. We are all really thankful to you, sir, for your encouragement, support, motivation, and guidance for making our programs in a grand success. Thank you, sir. I express my gratitude to our co-patron, most respected Registrar, Professor V. Balakrishnan, sir, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, and most respected Reverend Sister Pauline Mary, Secretary, Stella Matituna College of Education, Chennai. Without your guidance and motivation, these programs would not have been possible. And we shall be eternally grateful to you, sir and sister, for your valuable guidance and support. Thank you, sir, and thank you, sister. I would like to express my sincere gratitude and thanks to our Controller of Examination, Dean of Faculty, Professor and Head, Department of Educational Psychology, Professor M. Govindan, sir, for his timely help and support in all aspects. Thank you, sir. I feel very honored and extend my warm welcome to Director and today's chief guest, most respected Professor S. Mani, Director, National and International Academic Collaboration, and Professor and Head, Department of Educational Planning and Administration, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, for his valuable support and personal commitment, incredibly generous and help out our team to reach the top and achieve the goal. I welcome you, sir. I express my wholehearted and extend my special welcome to convener, the most respected Dr. Mrs. Joseph Catherine, Principal, Stella Matituna College of Education, Chennai, who have been backbone of the event for rendering us with all possible helps and support towards complete this webinar successfully. I welcome you, ma'am. I welcome Dr. Mrs. Alma Juliet Pamela, IQAC Coordinator, Associate Professor of Education, Stella Matituna College of Education, Chennai. I welcome you, ma'am. I'm happy to welcome Tamil America TV President, Mr. Aston Giltus, President, Tamil America TV and Tamil America Global Network in Greater New York, USA, and other all Tamil America TV members. Thank you all for giving an excellent coverage. I heartily welcome you all. We are heartful welcome to today's eminent resource person, Dr. Anjani Devi S., Assistant Professor, NSS Training College, Vandalam, Kerala. Thank you, ma'am, for having spared your precious time for all of us. I welcome you, ma'am. And a heartful welcome to Dr. Ravi Govindaraj, Head TNT Integral Training Center, Qatar. I welcome you, sir. And also, I am very happy to express our thanks to all the resource persons for sharing their knowledge with excellent presentation and excellent information. I heartily welcome you all the eminent.
Okay.
I heartily welcome to one of the organizing secretary, Dr. Aroki Elizabeth Josephine, and other organizing joint secretaries like Dr. Mangai, Assistant Professor of Education, Stella Matituna College of Education, Sister Sija Viola, Assistant Professor of Education, Stella Matituna College of Education, Chennai, who have worked very hard indeed for the last days to make this international webinar a grand success. An event of the dimension can't happen overnight and needs meticulous planning and execution and an eye for detail. It was a perfect mix of topics, teacher and teacher educators. We appreciate your hard work, your efforts and dedication towards this 7 days international webinar. Our biggest applause to both of you. I welcome you, Dr. Arik Elizabeth Josephine, Dr. Mangai, and Sister Srija Viola. Next, I welcome all the organizing joint secretaries, Dr. V. Vasudevan, Dr. B. N. Lakshmi Shanmugam, Mr. S. Balamurugan, Dr. B. Subramanian, Assistant Professors, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Dr. Mrs. Jain Santini, Directors SG in Physical Education, Shalamatino College of Education, Dr. T. Premalata, Assistant Professor of Education, Bardiyar University, Mr. S. Rajakumar, Assistant Professor of Education, Tyagaraja College of Preceptors, Madurai, for their efficient support and encouragement to complete this successful webinar. I welcome you all the organizing joint secretaries. And last but not least, I extend our hearty welcome to wonderful participants who have done up in such a great numbers from various states across the country. I most welcome all the participants from different parts of our country. My special welcome to all the viewers of YouTube. Ends, not bad things. They just mean that something else is about to begin. Once again, I welcome you all.
Thank you, Mom,
Thank you.
for your soul striving address to everyone. Now, the person who has consumed herself to change the society and the light the darkness in the life of the youngsters, Dr. Mrs. Mangai, Assistant Professor of Education, Stella Matina College of Education, is requested to read the report of 1 week international webinar on teaching redefined for Gen Z. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Sister Sheeta Viola.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening to everyone present here. When you educate one person, you can change a life. But when you educate many, you can change the entire world. With wide open gates to higher education, the Department of Educational Psychology and Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Karapakam, Chennai, in association with the Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Stella Marittima College of Education, Ashok Nagar, Chennai, jointly with Tamil America TV, has organized a 1 week international webinar on teaching redefined for Gen Z. I'm truly honored to present the report before you now. The 1 week international webinar on teaching redefined for Gen Z was held from May 17, 2021 to May 23, 2021. The organizing committee consists of the most dynamic and diplomatic leader, Professor N. Panchanathan, Vice Chancellor, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, as the patron, and he is a person who always inspires and motivates to take incredible initiatives in the field of education. And the most distinguished Professor V. Balakrishnan, Registrar in charge of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and the most respected Reverend Sister Pauline Mary, the Secretary of Stella Marittima College of Education, Chennai, as the co-patrons. And the most enterprising person, Professor M. Govindan, Dean and Faculty and Head of Department of Educational Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and the kind and democratic leader, Dr. Mrs. Joseph Catherine, Principal of Stella Marittima College of Education, Chennai, as the conveners. The directors of this webinar are the most encouraging person, Professor S. Mani, Director, Center for National and International Academic Coordination and Collaborations, and Professor and Head, Department of Educational Planning and Administration, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and the most competent Dr. Mrs. Alma Juliet Pamela, Associate Professor and IKAC Coordinator of Stella Marittima College of Education, Chennai. The organizing secretaries were the magnetic and charismatic person, Dr. T. Shivshakti Rajamal, Assistant Professor and Coordinator, Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Tamil Nadu, and the most dedicated person, Dr. Mrs. S. Arogya Elizabeth Josephine, IPAC Coordinator, and Assistant Professor of Biological Science, Chalamatitna College of Education, and the most committed organizing joint secretaries are Dr. V. Vasudevan, Assistant Professor of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Dr. P. M. Lakshmi Shanmugam, Assistant Professor of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Mr. S. Balamurugan, Assistant Professor from Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, with Dr. Mrs. J. Jain Shantini, Physical Education Directors of Stella Matituna College of Education, Dr. Mrs. K. Mangai, Assistant Professor of Education, Stella Matituna College of Education, Sister V. Shija Viola, Assistant Professor of Education from Stella Matituna College of Education, as well as Dr. P. Subramanian, Assistant Professor of from Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Dr. T. Imalata, Assistant Professor of Education, School of Education from Bhartiyar University, Coimbatore, Mr. S. Rajakumar, Assistant Professor of Education from Tyagaraja College of Preceptors, Madurai. Both the Google Meet as well as the YouTube were used as platforms for conducting this webinar, and this webinar was also broadcasted live on Tamil America TV. We were fortunate and happy to have a huge number of responses, crossing over 2,500 registration from various schools, colleges, and universities across India and abroad. Over to the inaugural function. On the first day of our 1 week international webinar on teaching redefined for Gen Z, the program started with the inaugural function at 4:30 p.m. The welcome address was delivered by Professor M. Govindan, Dean of Faculty and Head, Department of Educational Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University. The theme for the webinar was introduced by Dr. Mrs. J. Jain Shantini, Physical Education Directors from Stella Matituna College of Education, which set the platform for knowledge dissemination. The presidential address was given by Professor V. Balakrishnan, Registrar in charge of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Reverend Sister Pauline Mary, Secretary of Stella Matituna College of Education, graciously. The inaugural address was given by Professor N. Panjanathan, Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, which instilled the interest to learn more. Then the felicitations were given by Professor S. Mani, Professor and Head, Department of Educational Planning and Administration, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Dr. Mrs. Joseph Catherine, Principal of Stella Matituna College of Education, which increased the enthusiasm of the delegates with open mind. Finally, the vote of thanks was given by Dr. T. Shivshakti Rajamal, Assistant Professor from Department of Educational Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University. The Master of Ceremony was Dr. S. Arogya Elizabeth Josephine, who curated the function perfectly. Here we have the glimpse of our inaugural function. Then the first session was on affective and cognitive learning in virtual classroom. The resource person for the session was Professor Mumtaj Begum, Dean and Head, School of Education, Pondicherry University, Pondicherry. Professor Mumtaj Begum gave a wonderful presentation and highlighted the psychological concepts on affective and cognitive domain. She gave a clear explanation right from the basics to research level on affective and cognitive domain. The session was highly informative and useful. The participants were very active and enthusiastic. Ma'am responded to the doubts and questions raised by the participants with great zeal and zest. The participants gained a lot of knowledge through this webinar and received a great insight. The second session was on wellness and mental health issues in virtual learning by Mrs. R.S. Maragadam, Assistant Professor of Department of Applied Psychology and Behavioral Research from Justice Bashir Ahmed Saeed College for Women, Chennai. She deliberated on the various psychological issues that arise during virtual learning and enlightened us on how to bring positive attitude in virtual classrooms and attain wellness, which is the need of the hour. The participants found the session very helpful. She answered to the questions raised by the participants with some practical steps which gave solutions to the mental health issues in the virtual classrooms. The participants gained confidence in dealing with the psychological issues that arise in virtual learning. Then we had this third session. The third session was on teacher competencies in virtual teaching by Dr. R. Gauri Shankar, Assistant Professor and Head, Loganatha Narayanasamy Government College, Ponneri Tiruvallur District, Tamil Nadu. The resource person gave a detailed explanation of the various competencies needed for a teacher during virtual teaching. Apart from the content knowledge and subject knowledge, the pedagogical knowledges and the technological knowledge is necessary for the 21st century teachers. Sir has clearly pointed out that only a competent teacher can be perfect and excel in his profession. The resource person was happy to answer the questions that were put forth by the participants. The session was useful to everyone. Then the fourth session started at 4:30 p.m. on 25/20/21. The fourth session was on student engagement, motivation, and classroom management strategies by Dr. Kriba Azaria, teacher from the Department of Physical Education, Indian School, Dorset, Muscat, Oman. Ma'am was proficient and magnanimous enough in presenting all her records and demonstrated the various strategies they apply in their schools for student engagement, motivation, and classroom management. The participants were happy to explore the activities planned in the classrooms. The session was completely engaging. Then the fifth session was on challenges faced by students in virtual teaching on 21/5/2021 at 4:30 p.m. The resource person for the day was Dr. Ravi Govindraj, Head T&D Integral Training Center, Qatar. The resource person made everyone understand that change is inevitable and how we have to adapt ourselves according to the changing situations. Sir adopted a unique method of keeping the participants alert with his lively sessions. The the participants reciprocated the same with their real spirit, and they learned a lot of different methods of achieving things. He highlighted that the teachers must customize their teaching styles according to the learning styles of the students. The session was quite interesting. Then we moved on to the sixth session of the international webinar. The sixth session was on 22/5/2021 at 4:30 p.m. The session was on encouraging students' ethical behavior in virtual classroom. The resource person for the session was Mrs. A.H. Komala, Assistant Professor of Economics Education, NKT College of Education for Women, Chennai. Ma'am put forth the necessity for framing the moral and ethical values and also the guidelines to be followed. She insisted that teachers must be the role models to his or her students. The participants agreed that ethical values are very important to build a harmonious society and a peaceful planet. So the seventh session was on 23/5/2021 at 4:30 p.m. The seventh session was on role of teachers during COVID-19, the unprecedented transition. The resource person for the session was Dr. Ranjini Devi S., Assistant Professor, NSS Training College, Pandalam, Kerala. Ma'am has explained the difference between the rural and urban digital divide. Ma'am beautifully explained how we have to take control of the online classroom. How many teachers have taken to remote teaching with a true spirit? How to make the students learn even during this unprecedented situation of COVID 19. She has underlined how to use the technical knowledge for improving the teaching learning process. She also gave so many real examples for remote teaching. The participants were truly inspired with the emotional connect she established with the participants with her answers. With this, we are in the validity session of our webinar. Now we are successfully attending the valedictory function, and all the 7 sessions were quite useful to all of us. I strongly believe that all the resource persons have not only prepared us to redefine our teaching for Gen Z, but also to the next generations in the future, including the iGen, that is the Alpha generation as well. The participants were exposed and equipped with so many resources and knowledge for achieving excellence in teaching. The feedback received from the participants are highly positive and rewarding. I appreciate, congratulate, and thank everyone who has been a part and parcel of this webinar and making it a grand success. Education impacts the societies worldwide for the betterment and the progress. Be the change you want to see in your community. Keep learning with us. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for the brief reading of our 1 week webinar event. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
A pessimist complains about the wind, an optimist tries to change it, and a leader adjusts the sail. The sails for this particular notion were adjusted by the person who is not only a great motivation to all of us, but a visionary and the person who gave us the belief to bring together this event. Dr. Mrs. Joseph Catherine, principal of Stella Matina College of Education, is very calm and quiet. She has always shown keen interest in our activities, and in her we found a great strength and support to all the programs we undertake. We're happy to listen to you, ma'am. May I request ma'am to deliver the valedictory address? Ma'am, please.
Excuse me, ma'am. Please unmute yourself, ma'am.
Am I audible now?
Thank you, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Which is the end result of true learning. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Registrar of this esteemed university, Professor M. Govindan, Controller of Examination, Reverend Sister Pauline Mary, Secretary of Stella Matutina College of Education, Professor Mani, Professor and Head, Department of Educational Planning, Organizing Secretaries Dr. Sivasakti Rajamal and Dr. Arukya Elizabeth Josephine, and all other joint secretaries and dear participants. A very good evening to one and all. I am honored to share some quick thoughts about the past 7 days, which has helped us to have a deep insight on the ways and means to tailor the teaching strategies and means of instructional delivery to address the needs of the Generation Z learners. We cannot hereafter afford to be rigid and cling on to our traditional teaching style, whether online or offline. When their institutions are closed for a long time, our students lose an anchor in life. Nearly 29% are already experiencing harm to their emotional and mental health. Hence, adopting some creative activities and innovative strategies in the online classes is mandatory. We have to bring a variety in the digital classroom to make teaching and learning more effective. We need to provide good content, skilled instruction with continuous evaluation, feedback, and guidances. Let us take the deliberations forward and redefine the standards to suit the Generation Z learners. I thank all the organizers and resource persons who have ignited our minds to think and help us to redefine teaching to suit the current situation. I thank you for the opportunity given. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Your words were full of enthusiasm and valuable knowledge. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Gratitude is the fairest blossom which springs from the soul. This the international seminar on teaching redefined urgency was made possible by many hands, hearts, and minds working together. As we come to close of our one-week international webinar to express a word of appreciation and gratitude, we have with us Dr. Mrs. R.K. Elizabeth Josephine, Assistant Professor of Biology, Stella Matina College of Education, who would propose the word of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, sister. A warm and graceful evening to everyone gathered here. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked really hard to make this one-week international webinar program happen. On behalf of Department of Educational Psychology, Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and IQC Stella Matricina College of Education, and the entire fraternity of the institution. First of all, I extend my most sincere thanks to the Almighty God for making today's event a resounding success. With His blessings and grace, we are able to make this event what it was. I express my sincere gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor N. Panchanadam Sir, the patron of this webinar, for his tremendous initiative, constant motivation, and encouragement in organizing this international webinar. Thank you, sir. I keep on record our indebtedness to the co-patrons of this webinar, Professor V. Balakrishnan, Registrar of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Reverend Sister Palin Mary, Secretary of Stella Matricina College of Education, for their incredible support in organizing this webinar. Thank you, sir, and thank you, sister. A special mention to our respected conveners of this webinar, Professor M. Govindan, Controller of Examinations, Dean of Faculty, and Head of the Department of Education Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Dr. Joseph Catherine, Principal of Stella Matricina College of Education, for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best and standing as a pillars of strength. With a deep sense of appreciation, we thank our loving conveners for their untiring efforts. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I take this opportunity to thank the directors of this webinar, Professor N. S. Mani, Director, Center for National and International Academic Collaborations, and Professor and Head, Department of Educational Planning and Administration, Dr. Mrs. A. Alma Juliet Pamela, IQC Coordinator, Associate Professor of Education, Stella Matricina College of Education, for devoting their time, stupendous guidance, and moral support. Without their support, we would not have succeeded in organizing this webinar. Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am. We would also like to acknowledge our esteemed speakers who took their time out of their busy schedule and showered us with their pearls of wisdom and knowledge. Professor Mumtaz Beham Ma'am, Dean and Head School of Education, Pondicherry University, Dr. R.S. Maragadam, Assistant Professor, Department of Applied Psychology and Behavioral Research, Justice Bashir Ahmed Syed College for Women, Chennai, and Dr. Gauri Shankar, Assistant Professor and Head, Loganatha Narayana Swami Government College, Ponneri, Dr. Kiriba Azaria, Teacher, Department of Physical Education, Indian School, Dashit Omen, Dr. Ravi Govindraj, Head, TNP Integral Training Center, Qatar, Mrs. A.H. Komala, Assistant Professor of Economic Education, NKT National College of Education for Women, Chennai. Dr. Ranjini Devi, Assistant Professor, NSS Training College, Pandalam, Kerala. We are truly humbled by your presence, Madam and Sir, Ravi Sir, Govind Raj Sir, for my gratitude to all the speakers for gracing the session and sharing their opinion for the last 7 days. All your thoughts have enlightened our minds and have shown us a new path. Thank you once again. I am short of words for the a great motivation to me and the person who gave me the belief to bring together this event. That is I am immensely thankful to our organizing secretary, Dr. T. Sivashakti Rajamal, Assistant Professor, Department of Education Psychology, the Coordinator, Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, for her efforts and enormous cooperation in organizing this great event. And I would like to thank all the joint organizing secretaries. An event like this cannot happen overnight. So we have to, we have been fortunate enough to have a team, a very positive team and dedicated joint organizing secretaries who are all well versed in their job. So I would like to thank all the joint secretary, Dr. Vasudevan, Assistant Professor, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Dr. P.N. Lakshmi Shanmugam, Assistant Professor, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Mr. S. Balamurugan, Assistant Professor, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Dr. Mrs. Jane Shantini Ma'am, Directors in Physical Education, Stella Matutina College of Education, Dr. Mrs. Mangai, Assistant Professor of Education, Stella Matno College of Education, Dr. Subramanian, Assistant Professor, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Dr. T. Premalata Ma'am, Assistant Professor of Education, Bharatiyar University, Coimbatore, Mr. S. Rajakumar, Assistant Professor of Education, Tyagarajar College of Education, Madurai, for their cooperation and continuous support. And I want to give a special mention to Dr. Mangai, Assistant Professor of Education, and Sister Sija Viola, Assistant Professor of Education, Stella Matutina College of Education. I am short of words for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of the task beyond their comfort zones. Thank you so much, dear Mangai ma'am and dear sister. With a deep sense of appreciation, we thank Mr. Aston, the founder of Tamil America TV, and his team for their untiring efforts and support. Furthermore, let's have a special recognition to all the participants for your rock solid support system and encouragement. Without your support, we were not being able to achieve this excellence. Once again, I thank all the participants. They are richly deserve our gratitude for your active participation throughout this webinar. So the end of the story is new beginning for many others. So that on behalf of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University and Stella Matutina College of Education, we sincerely promise you that in the coming days too, we will keep on organizing such proceedings related to the field with some more innovative ideas to nourish your mind and fill you with more knowledge. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for conveying our gratitude. Thank you. Stay home, be safe. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Catherine.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Congrats, Sivasakti. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Ravi Govindraj. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Arak.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, Catherine, madam. Thank you very much, Josephine, madam.
Thank you.
Shija, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
on
Dr.
but
Mangai,
another.
ma'am. Thank you, Sister Srija Vayola. Thank you, Dr. Premalata, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you
ma'am.
all the TNTU and Stella Matrix College of Education staff members. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all the participants. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Shivasek.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, ma'am. Shivashakti ma'am and Josephine ma'am.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, congratulations, Shivsheti ma'am and
Shivasakti,
Josephine ma'am.
congratulations. Josephine.
Congratulations to both of you, Dr. Mangai and Dr.
Yes.
Sister Srija Vayola also.
Mangai ma'am and
Yes,
Sita
thank you
sister,
so
thank
much.
you so much.
Shivasakti, congrats.
Yes, yes, Dr. Josephine and both of them very hard work.
Thank you.
Shivashakti, Josephine, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mangai.
Thank you.
Mangai.
Thank you, ma'am.
Teacher sister, thank you. Good, super, good
Thank
job.
you.
You all
Thank you.
have done.
Thank you.
Very nice session, Shivasakti. Nice
Thank you.
resource persons.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, dear.
Pleasure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivashakti ma'am. Thank you, Josephine ma'am. Thank you so much. Really useful session, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam. Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Shivashakti Rajamal madam and team.
Thank you, Dr. Rajamanar, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Excellent arrangement, madam. Excellent
Thank you.
arrangement. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for the insightful FDP.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello. Hello, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, arranging so informative, knowledgeable webinar. Thank you very much. Tomorrow we are going to miss it at 4 o'clock. And ma'am, one request is there. First day I did join the webinar, but somehow power cut. I could not fill up feedback. Later I
No worry, Dr. Anita Kumari, ma'am, no worry. Your attendance noted, ma'am. Okay.
ma'am, but I could not fill the
Please, wait. Within 2 days,
feedback.
you will get the certificate. Within 2 days. Today night or tomorrow night. Within 2 days, you will get the certificate. No worry.
Ma'am, no, I have joined full session from 17 to today. But Thursday only I could not fill up feedback because of my here in Mumbai. My power has cut here at my home. That's why.
Means after some time, you will fill, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Can you give me a send or can we fill up the same link today?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Same link.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Hello, good evening, ma'am. Hello,
Good evening, sir.
good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, first of all, I want to congratulate all the organizing team. It was a very informative and excellent session, and I have gained a lot of knowledge. My name is Engineer Paresh Mitra. I am a professor in my MM University, Haryana. Me and my wife have both attended your wonderful and excellent this session. And today also I have sent submit the feedback link, and all the days I have submit the feedback link. But I didn't get my certificate, and my wife has also not received the certificate yet. So it is my humble request to your good self, kindly share your contact details so that if we don't get our certificate, then we can approach you, ma'am.
Sir, please wait, sir.
Yes.
Within 2 days,
Okay.
you will get the certificate. Okay.
Okay. But
Okay.
ma'am, if we don't get a, how can we,
Sir,
contact
any
your
other
good self?
queries, please message my WhatsApp number. Okay. Please.
Okay. ठीक है. Okay, thank you.
இதை ஓப்பன் பண்ணிட்டீங்களா? யூடியூப் க்ளோஸ் பண்ணி வச்சடா. நம்ம யூடியூப்பில் ஃபுல்லாக எல்லாருக்கும் அனுப்பிட்டு இல்லைச்சலாம். யாரும் கேட்குறாங்களா?
Ma'am, can you share your WhatsApp number in the chat box?
Please wait. And YouTube participants, thank you so much for your excellent cooperation. Thank you so much.